here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more. So what would you say are the components that make up like the great art of sex or satisfying sex? Like how would you prioritize, or how would you lay that out for someone?
So it starts with what you talk about, like it starts with feel. So you have to feel. Feeling has two different components. You could like use your senses that you're externally feeling something, or you have interoception, you're feeling your own sensation, your own breath inside your body. So I think it starts with, and you have to kind of get your sensor activated. Like if you can't read the signal externally or internally, you can't really like make adjustment, right? The second part, I think, really make good sex after you feel your external or internal experiences is your ability to calibrate. Like, do I like it faster or slower? Do I want to move it to the left or move it to right? Like it's a big difference. Like 1 centimeter off the spot is off the spot. So to be able to communicate, hey, a little bit to the left, or like just physically move it is super important.
Yeah.
I think actually, most of us are pretty good calibrator when it comes to sensation. Like when you have an itch on your back, we're really good at telling people where to scratch it and where to get it, but we just don't translate that skills to sex. So calibrating to me is that you have an itch in the back and you're asking someone a little higher, and then you move your body towards it, and then you get it just right in that case. And then after that, you get into flow when you are no longer thinking about your technical part. You're not trying to consciously think of how you're moving. So you get into this flow state, which I think is erotic flow state, has been written in so many different ways. But the analogy I used on the book is sort of like surfing. You kind of have to feel the water first, then you have to find your balance is how you calibrate. Then you start riding the waves, because I think so much of pleasure is like the ocean. It kind of just moves the way it moves. Like you can't make yourself go to sleep, right? You kind of have to ride it. And the third part is play, where you get to be creative and you get to express yourself fully. So I think those components are really important. And also I think Betty Martin's model, where you're combining tactile data, like the sensation you feel, and the erotic context, like what really arouses you, the energy vibing. Is it a DS relationship? Is it like in the moment you're so in love, whatever the erotic context is, and you combine that with attention, which I think a lot of tantric practice focuses on, is like, can you actually put all your bandwidth, all your experience into this experience? So if you could combine, I think, those two things together, that's when magic happens.
Yeah. And the way that you break it down like that, I think makes it so much more digestible for a person. Again, we go into, and I heard you reference DS, or dominant submission, or even top bottom roles in sexual play. It's like, if we're not accustomed to that, we're not in a community of that, we're not seeing that as reference points, that may be very daunting for us to look at and be like, how the fuck do I get there? I don't know. Or we try to go into it and we say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So here you're breaking that down, and it makes a lot of sense to me. When I first started doing shibari work, I was in my head trying to fit the techniques, and it wasn't until I got, into a rhythm with that, and it became more of a automatic action, that I could drop into the flow or the trance or the creativity of it after.
So when I was researching the book, one of the things I was trying to compare to, like, what makes a good lover? Like, what can I compare it to that people understand? And what I realized, that really good fighters are really good, or fighter, dancer, but fighter especially, because you have to act. You cannot like be too angry or too riled up, right? Too much sympathetic, but you can't be too relaxed that you are sleepy. Like you have to be there. So like this balance of like being alert and relaxed, but able to activate like both, right? To relax and to hearten at will. And it's so amazing. And also it really combines with the whole learning curve, because in the beginning, when you hone a skill, you have to drill. So you have to go through that stage of learning when you well, first you don't even know that you lack competency. Then you go to the stage, the mechanical stage, how Bruce Lee talked about it. You have to go through that period. So I think we don't want to feel awkward or go through the mechanical stage. Just so like to your Shibari story, there is a period when you feel a little bit more mechanical. How I adjust to it? But once you pass that stage, you get to the stage where you don't even have to pay attention to the competency, or you in this place you could flow again. So I really think it's important that we teach people to go through that learning curve, that whole learning journey in sex, because it's okay to embrace the awkward in the play lab stage. So you could get to the stage where you don't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
But it's not that much investment. That's the craziest thing. Like you just have to pay attention, learn how not to overcook an egg once, then you don't have to think about it all the time. But if you fuck it up every time, it's dry ass egg all day. So.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.